and then throw in the Gaian mind, the imagination of nature, and this sort of thing. And I mean, I think that my friend Dennis McKenna really nails it when he says the monkeys only think they're running the show. In other words, there's a tremendous amount of exertion for control, and there's a tremendous amount of groups and secret societies and all this shit. And everyone's got their own gang, right? There's a bunch of gangs that are out trying to exert certain levels of control.
Yeah, absolutely.
But who's really being successful? I mean, I think to be a control freak in this day and age, all you're doing is bringing on a tremendous amount of aggravation onto yourself, because you can't control me. And if you can't control the little things, you can't control the big things. The butterfly effect is real. Small little bitty perturbations, in big gigantic dynamic systems can cause huge, unpredictable, improbable, and, unexpected change. And this is what all these control freaks are frightened to death about.
Yeah, sure.
Change,
sure,
right?
Sure, yeah.
Well, so as a mathematician, right? As a mathematician, I realize that, chaos theory is a real thing, and that dynamics and this sort of thing, that they're real, and that systems theory actually is real, and the way social systems work is really no different than a chemical system works in the laboratory. And so when you have, let's talk about something for a minute, okay?
Sure.
About equilibrium. This is a scientific term, right? What's it mean? You know what it means.
Sure.
It means balance, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Equality. Things are working well. Harmony is another word that's associated with this stuff, right? Well, equilibrium, when a system, and I'm talking in the chemical sense, but by analogy, all systems, right, including social systems, cultural systems, galactic systems, whatever, systems in general, they follow these rules. Well, when you have a system that's at equilibrium, it's very difficult to move it out of equilibrium. It takes a tremendous amount of effort, energy, in a particular vector, and it's hard because it's strong, right? Now, when you have and if you look at the opposite, right? You look at the counterintuitive idea of disequilibrium, chaos, basically, right? Well, when you have, again, let's use the laboratory in chemistry setup as the example, but in chemistry, if you have a chaotic system, well, then anything goes. This is when the laws of chaos theory and dynamics really, shine, and where the butterfly effect becomes something that nobody can ignore, is that in a chaotic situation, a very small amount of energy in any particular vector, it's unpredictable, can bring about a brand new and unexpected equilibrium. And it doesn't mean it's going to be good, bad, or ugly. It just means that it can happen, right? And so, that's the way I look at control. I think that anyone that talks about everyone having all this control, they don't. I can still piss where I want. I can still talk my radio. I can still make love when I want. And you know what? They can listen in if they like. I got better things to do than worry about them. All I know is they can't touch me, obviously. I mean, obviously, because I'm here, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm unimpeded. In other words, my life, Henry, you know what I mean? As an individual, I do what I want.
Sure.
And trust me, I do some things and say some things that if all of this control was a real thing, well, I'd be in deep shit, my friend. I should be in deep fucking shit. All right? But I ain't. And
that's
so, people can make of that whatever whatever they want to make of it. I think it's the Occam's razor answer. Is that that's right, because these people are really just chicken shit for the most part, and they've been depotentiated for the most part. And I think it's sort of on the way out, not on the way in. So I'm sort of doing my own thing and trying to help people do their own thing and be creative and do art and, grow things, I see the dead animal, laying in the pasture, turning into shit and mushrooms growing off of it. So, I don't know, this is my take.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we want. We want your take on this. That's excellent.
What else am I talking about? I mean, and like I said, I don't know if 911 deserves too much more talk, but listen to Paul Lafley. I mean, this is a guy that I interviewed.
Yeah,
my friend.
Yeah, let's.
He was an architect.
Yeah.
On the original design team. I mean, he lays it out plain and simple.
Sure.
There were charges that were built into the buildings. There was no news. This is no news fucking flash, Henrik. Anybody that was hanging around New York in the 60s knew this. That's the way they designed the buildings, because, like Paul said, what brought down the World Trade Center towers, it was an act of extremism, but it was extremist capitalism that brought them down. Right? Not extremist Islam or Christianity or Judaism or any of this shit. It was extremist capitalism that brought them down. Right? There are extremist capitalists.
Oh yes, yeah.
We should bring that into the vernacular. There are people that will do anything for money.
Sure.
I mean, they'll just do anything for money. It's funny. Our friend Kent Stedman, who's so wonderful and who you and me sort of connected through.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And he runs this great website, right? Cyberspaceorbit.com.
Indeed,
And
yeah.
it's an absolute inspiration. He's been around for a long, long time, longer than I have. Shit, He's 65 years old. He's talked to everybody. He knows everybody, Henrik. He knows everybody, right? They call him on the phone. He lives in his little cave in Seattle. See what I'm saying? Nobody messes with him, right? And he knows everybody, including the spookiest of the spooks, right? So everybody's hip to the game. It's just that the people out there in the public just decide if they want to capitulate or not.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
I mean, for the most part, you can do what you want. I really do believe that.
Yeah, indeed, and
9/11, it was extremist capitalism that did it, and Kent, I'm sorry to lose my track a little bit, but Kent had said, he's talked to so many people that say that these robber baron types, they don't really even do it for control or power as much as they do it for fun. That's what he says. He says they do it for fun.
Okay.
That's how disconnected they are with the whole business, I think.
Yeah, and doesn't the sense of the lack from their part then of control come into the picture there, where I remember this really spaced out quote from actually the X-Files, but they were talking to, I think it was one of the Men in Black who talked that he was part. No, it wasn't one from the Men in Black, but anyway, he was part of a group who actually were involved in trying to figure out where the future. But the group, they come up to the point where their conclusion was the best way to predict the future is actually to make it happen or create it.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that our actions have some sort of result, and we see it day to day. In other words, you eat a hamburger and you're not hungry anymore.
No meat.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Or whatever, And
yeah.
so we know that there are these things, but we tend not to extend very far from ourselves.
Yeah.
We tend to give away the power to, outside of our own skin to other people, and somehow we allow the depotentiation of ourselves. And I think when you exert your own